The reason you're not seeing results isn't that you're doing too little. It's that you're doing too much, and your body has been trying to tell you. Don't forget to subscribe, like in this video so that others can benefit. There's a particular kind of person this happens to. Not the person who skips sessions. Not the one who lacks motivation. It happens to the dedicated ones, the people who show up consistently, who push hard, who take their training seriously. And despite all of that effort, something isn't adding up. Strength has plateaued. Body composition isn't shifting the way it should. Energy is lower than it used to be. Sleep feels less restorative. And there's a persistent, low-level fatigue that doesn't fully clear even after a rest day. Most people in this position assume the answer is more. More sessions, more volume, more discipline. They diagnose effort as the missing ingredient when effort was never the problem. What's actually happening has a name, a mechanism, and a very specific solution that most fitness culture will never encourage you to consider. What overreaching actually does to the body: the human body does not get stronger during training. It gets stronger during recovery from training. This is not a motivational statement. It's physiology. Exercise is a controlled stressor. It creates microscopic disruption in muscle tissue, challenges the cardiovascular system, and depletes energy substrates. The adaptation, the actual improvement in strength, endurance, and body composition, happens in the hours and days afterward, when the body repairs and rebuilds in response to the demand placed on it. When training frequency and volume consistently outpace the body's capacity to recover from them, the adaptive process stalls. The repair cycle never completes before the next stressor arrives. Over time, the body shifts from a state of productive stress and recovery into a state of accumulated systemic fatigue, what researchers call functional overreaching, and in more severe cases, non-functional overreaching or overtraining syndrome. At this stage, the hormonal environment inside the body becomes actively hostile to the results being pursued. Cortisol remains chronically elevated. Testosterone and growth hormone output suppresses. Muscle protein synthesis slows. The body begins prioritizing survival-level functions over performance adaptation, because from a biological standpoint, that is exactly what the situation calls for. More training in this state doesn't accelerate recovery. It extends the damage. The signals people misread. Here's where it becomes important to be precise, because the symptoms of overtraining are routinely misattributed to other causes. Persistent joint discomfort that doesn't resolve with standard rest is frequently blamed on age or old injuries. What it often reflects is chronic inflammatory load from inadequate recovery between sessions. Connective tissue, tendons, ligaments, cartilage, has a significantly slower repair rate than muscle. When training stress accumulates faster than connective tissue can respond, the discomfort becomes a baseline rather than a temporary signal. Mood changes are another underappreciated indicator. Irritability, reduced motivation, difficulty concentrating, and a flattened emotional state are all documented consequences of non-functional overreaching, driven by the same hormonal disruption that impairs physical recovery. The brain runs on many of the same neurochemical pathways that exercise affects. Chronic overtraining doesn't just exhaust the body. It exhausts the nervous system. Declining performance across multiple sessions is perhaps the clearest signal. When someone who has been training consistently finds that their numbers, their weights, their times, their output, are moving backward rather than forward over several weeks, the instinct is often to push harder. That instinct, in this context, is the precise opposite of what the body is asking for. The minimum effective dose principle. There's a concept in pharmacology called the minimum effective dose, the smallest amount of an intervention required to produce the desired effect. Anything below that threshold is insufficient. Anything significantly above it produces diminishing returns, and eventually, adverse effects. Training follows the same logic, even though fitness culture rarely frames it that way. Research on resistance training adaptation consistently shows that 2 to 3 well-constructed sessions per week, targeting each major muscle group with sufficient intensity, produces outcomes comparable to, and in fatigued individuals, superior to, higher frequency programs. The determining variable isn't the number of sessions. It's whether each session occurs against a background of genuine recovery. The most effective training week is not the most demanding one. It's the one where each session can be performed with full neurological readiness, mechanical quality, and the physical capacity to actually apply progressive overload, because that, not volume, is the primary driver of adaptation. What strategic rest actually produces, taking a deliberate reduction in training volume, sometimes called a deload, is not regression. It is part of the adaptive cycle. During a period of reduced training load, the body completes repair processes that accumulated fatigue have been suppressing. Hormonal balance restores. Glycogen stores refill more completely. The nervous system recalibrates. And when training resumes at full intensity following genuine recovery, the performance response is consistently stronger than it was before the reduction. This is called supercompensation, the body's tendency to rebuild slightly above its previous baseline when given the conditions to do so. It is the biological argument for rest, and it is one of the most consistently reproducible phenomena in exercise science. The athletes who sustain performance over long careers understand this intuitively. They protect their recovery with the same seriousness they bring to their training. Not because they're less committed, because they understand that commitment without recovery is simply wear. Conclusion. If your results have stalled, if your energy is consistently low, if training has started to feel like something you're grinding through rather than something you're building with, the answer is almost certainly not another session. The answer is less, done better, with more space around it. Reduce your weekly volume for 2 weeks. Prioritize sleep with the same intention you bring to your workouts. Eat enough to support recovery, not just enough to feel disciplined. And when you return to full training, pay attention to what your body actually tells you, not what your training calendar says you should be capable of. The best training program is the one your body can actually recover from. Everything beyond that isn't dedication. It's debt, and eventually, the body collects.